You're welcome to another episode of Business Time with me, Kemini Amano. In this episode, we want to discuss the energy sector. Recently, we were slapped with energy levies, something we were all not happy about, but perhaps it could be what we need to have our lives and businesses running. But at the same time, we see oil prices on the world market going down consistently, and we want to make meaning of the two. Why do we have the oil prices going up? And here in our own country, we have prices of petroleum products going up. We'll find out in a moment. Also, in this episode, we'll bring you news from around the world in this country as far as business is concerned. We'll also bring you a review of stock market activities over the week, and also tell you how the city is performing against the major trading currencies around the world on forex exchange news. So don't go away, I'll be right back.
For over 2 decades, we have given corporate Ghana quality services and the reader relevant business information. Business and Financial Times comes out on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Business and Financial Times newspaper, Africa's leading provider of business information.
I'm glad you stayed on here with us on Business Time. The program is brought to you by Lele Foods and Giant Mold, and it's powered by the Business and Financial Times newspaper and the BFTonline.com. You find the newspaper on your newsstands from Monday to Friday, except on Thursdays when we don't produce any Business and Financial Times newspapers. Let's take a look at news from around the world. Government has taxed state-owned enterprises to borrow on the strength of their own balance sheets and stop the over-reliance on central government for funds to execute their projects. President John Mahama reiterated government's commitment to implementing the directive at the sought curtain for construction of a new terminal at the Kotoka International Airport in Accra. The Association of Ghana Industries has cautioned government to hasten slowly on implementing the excise tax stamp system or risk disturbing the output and productivity of manufacturing firms. The implementation of tax stamps took effect this month and is expected to see tax stamps affixed to products imported or manufactured for consumption in Ghana. The Finance Ministry estimates that government loses between 50 million cedis to 65 million cedis annually due to illicit trade practices. Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Kofi Yamwa, is certain the stock market will strengthen its rally this year from the losses suffered in recent times, which should serve as a springboard to brighter times for the capital market. Already, optimism among investors on the Ghana Stock Exchange has begun to lift stocks as near-term fears, fueled by macroeconomic uncertainty and energy supply challenges, begin to subside. Ghana's annual consumer price inflation fell to 18.5% in February from 19% the month before. The Ghana Statistical Service is optimistic inflation would likely remain stable in coming months. However, analysts disagree. Now, these analysts predict inflation could shoot up if food inflation continues to rise due to the absence of rains. So there you have it, the major business news here in Ghana and around the country. Let's come to a very critical issue for today. We want to talk about the energy sector in general. To help us do that is Kujoboku. He's CEO of Gas of Oil. He's also an energy expert. would find out from him a few of the questions I have asked already. Kujo, thanks for joining us here.
Hi, thank you. How are you?
I'm well. I trust you're
well.
well.
I've not seen you for a bit.
I know. I've been around. It's good to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
Is there any justification for the kind of backlash government got for increasing the energy levies?
You mean introducing the energy levy? The energy levy was, there were other increases in the bill that was passed, but the energy levy, which basically came in, was something that was introduced. The backlash to me was not even enough. I don't know why they did that to themselves. You realize that for a short time, the government was basically piling on too many taxes too quickly. And there was no need for that. We had the utility hikes in 14th of December. Everybody said, like, why do you do that just before the Christmas festivity? They didn't listen, because to me, it was the prerequisite for some of these budgets coming online, because we didn't want under recovery in the electricity sector, as has happened in the petroleum sector. So yes, if we were going to have the lights, the car power, and most of these generation companies to come online, some of us argue that yes, you need to pay the right amount of money so that we don't have under recovery in the sector. But there was no need for those levies that were introduced the 1st January, because you look at festivities, people don't have money, trying to recoup that money in the new year. Then you now come and smack on other levies. I mean, and then when those levies came in, there's another one that was passed through the back door, that 10% increase for what you call it, the so-called VRA and all those debt recoveries and that. So to me, I just think that it smacks of insensitivity on the side of government, looking at the hardship Ghanaians are facing and the time that these levies were introduced. But
we had a situation, or we have a situation on hand. The government thought that it would be one of the best ways in dealing with our energy crisis in the country. Is that such a bad idea that we squeeze a little to solve them?
It's not squeezing. You see, squeezing a little is what we had in 14th December, which is increment in the utility tariff. In terms of what happened in terms of the levy, okay, it's just basically government thinking that, look, Ghanaians are used to paying high bills. In terms of the petroleum sector, we had a situation whereby the crude oil was around $140, and Ghanaians still, we didn't have any option, we paid for petroleum. So they think that if Ghanaians paid $140 a barrel prices at the pump, and now it is $30 or $26, why can't they still pay what they were paying before? Because sometimes when you talk to the government, they'll tell you that, oh, these are prices pre-deregulation. And the pre-deregulation prices, why can't we pay the same? To me, it's not for government to tell me how much I pay for petroleum. It is the demand and supply. It is the prices on the world market. If today, touch wood, petroleum prices, crude oil goes to $200 a barrel, government will ask us to pay because we need to use it. It's an essential part of our life that you can't choose to pick whether you drive your car or not. Every person who has a car, industries still have to run if crude oil is to go to $200 a barrel next week. Now, if it comes down to $20 a barrel next week, you should also give me that relief. Some of us have always said that, look, NPA has not been fair. They hijacked the deregulation formula because they said they were under recovery. They were trying to recover FX losses. They were trying to recover subsidies and all that. How can you be doing subsidies when over 55% are taxes in the build-up? So if you want to basically recover money, we didn't have an option. They kept the prices. When prices tumbled from $100 coming down to $48, $50, we were still paying the same that we were paying around that time. So in terms of when the prices has come so low, it's very insensitive that when Ghanaians are going to enjoy something like 10 Ghana cedis a gallon, government now comes back and adds on top of the 55% build-up already in there. And now you're looking at not only is it that we are paying for all these new levies introduced, they now also increase 1 cent, 2 cents on every liter. They increase for road fund. They increase for, even for what doesn't still exist, which is the toll levy. Okay, government has never accounted for how much it has accumulated over the years on the toll recovery, okay, the toll debt recovery. The toll debt recovery is still the build-up in the petroleum prices, and God knows how much money they have taken from us over the years. So to me, it's just not fair.
Let's go back a few seconds. And you mentioned deregulation. Where does deregulation stand in all of these things that are happening right now?
For deregulation to work perfectly, you need a good regulator, okay? Because what you are doing is that you are leaving us in the hands of the BDCs and the OMCs to set the prices for us to buy. What we try to understand is that if you don't have a good regulator, okay, then it's like throwing chicks to the wolf. They will chew us for nothing. We don't have a very vibrant competitive environment. If you had a competitive environment, then you do not need the regulator to be that active, because then if your fuel is not being bought, okay, then you would reduce the prices for the fuel to be patronized. But we find ourselves in a country whereby you are driving down the road, your petrol light is on, you go to the nearest filling station and you buy your fuel. You don't even look at how much that fuel costs. Until we get into that regime of looking out for cheaper filling stations and driving from maybe Adabraka to Osu just to buy a cheaper fuel. Until we get to that stage, okay, deregulation, we need the regulator to be on our side. For now, I don't think Honorable Wanzasaga and his people are on our side. They are on the side of their businesses, not on the average Nigerian.
Let's break it down. We are in a deregulated petroleum market. A government decided that it wanted to levy the product, so it slapped some levies on it. Then those who sell to us decided that because they have slapped levies on us, even though prices continue to tumble on the world market, we will increase at the pumps. What role could the regulator have played here?
The regulator is government. Let's not forget. Regulator, MPA is government. Regulator really and truly will enforce the input of the government levy. Okay. Now, because we do not have toll working, we've been told it will start working in June. We are waiting to see if that happens. But if toll works, okay, you find out that we will probably have the ex-refinery cheaper than what we have now. The ex-refinery that the BDTs are buying is they are buying the ex-refinery from Europe, which means that if the ex-refinery is, let's say, Platt, on the platform, which is called Platt, that's where you buy your refined products. If on the Platt you have ex-refinery to be, let's say, $80 a barrel for refined, or for per metric ton for a finished product, then you have to add your freight, insurance, and then all the stuff that goes on it. So when it comes to Ghana, you now add in the levies and the government taxes and then the margins. Then we get to the ex-pump, okay? If TOR was working and we are basically getting the product from TOR, then the ex-refinery will be at Tema. So then there's no freight and there's no insurance within the country. So that must be cheaper. What the regulator is supposed to be doing is supposed to go to the various BDCs, the importers, and say, look, give me your figures. How much are you buying ex-pump in Europe? What is your cost of freight? What is your cost of insurance? So that they don't make 50, 60% margins on us. So the regulator is supposed to be on our side, monitoring that we get to have the fair price to pay. I think if they do that well, the prices as it is now should come down further.
Let's talk about the Tema oil refinery as well. We understand that, well, it will start firing up, it will start refining. Are we expecting it to refine our own crude?
Well, from what I'm hearing, no. I'm hearing a towing arrangement, which is basically Bost has gone to buy crude. Bost is going to give the crude to Tema oil refinery, pay a towing fee to the oil refinery, and then the refinery will refine the product and give the end product to Bost. Bost will then sell it to the BDCs. That arrangement to me sounds funny. Reason being that Bost is not a BDC. Bost mandate is not to import crude oil, okay? Bost mandate is to manage infrastructure regards to storage and strategic reserves. So why is Bost importing crude oil for Tema Oil Refinery? Why couldn't the same arrangement that was made for Bost to import it, why couldn't that arrangement be made for Tema Oil Refinery to import it? From what we are told and from what we know, Bost and Tor are under the same management, okay? The CEO of Bost is the CEO of Tor. So what arrangement can you put in place for Bost? Why would you give the crude ownership to Bost, not Tor? That Tor brings in the crude, they refine it, and they sell it to whoever wants to buy. Why would you want it to go to Bost and then they pay a towing fee to the refinery? To me, that arrangement doesn't sound well to me. I don't understand it. I don't know why they did it, but they've done. The most important thing is that Tor works, okay? If Tor is going to work and they are going to make money to pay salaries and they are going to make money to pay off some of the debts that's in there, it's all well and good. But for us Ghanaians, what we are concerned about is getting petroleum prices at a very cheap price. And anything that happens in this government doesn't seem to tell me that they want us to pay that.
What is the gain in there for consumers once...
if Tor works.
If Tor
works under the right regulation and if Tor works under the right circumstances, we should be able to pay like 10 Ghana cedis a barrel. Because bear in mind, the ex-refinery is not in Europe. The ex-refinery is in Tema. So there is a huge cost in that build-up taken out of it. Freight and insurance, which comes in, and some other auxiliary costs that comes with it. So if, let's say in these instances, it was Tema Oil Refinery that brought in the crude, refined it and sell it, they will now make a margin on the refinery and sell it as the ex-refinery price. They will also get to sell all the other byproducts that comes with it. In this instance, it's Bost that brought it. So Bost is going to now pay a fee and Bost is the one going to make the margin. Somebody will argue that, well, Bost is a government institution and Tor is a government institution. So if they make the money, it's all government making the money. I don't believe that. I think that there is some interest at stake why it was given to Bost. It should have, and if it's the same government, why not let Tor be the one to import? Back to your question, if Ghanaians are to benefit, we want to see the pump price, because in the US it has fallen so low that physically people are actually beginning to see the benefit of the reduction in petroleum prices. In Ghana, we don't see it. So at least for a good benefit, we should be paying something like 10 Ghana cedis a gallon. Now we are paying something like 15 Ghana cedis.
If things work well.
If it works well, yes. If the government becomes sensitive to our plight, and they want Ghanaians to have a little bit in our pocket because we've suffered for so long, they should let us pay 10 Ghana cedis.
Suavemente, bésame, que quiero sentir tus labios besándome.
Giant Malt is a non-alcoholic beverage which contains minerals and vitamins that gives you energy and power to keep you moving. Giant Malt brings out the giant in you.
I'm glad you stayed on here with us on Business Time. The program is brought to you by Lele Foods and Giant Malt, and it's powered by the Business and Financial Times newspaper and the BFTonline.com. Now, over the past couple of years, Ghanaians have had to pay for the failure of Tor. Thankfully, it's coming up, but we wouldn't want to get there again. What are some of the things that we need to take note of so we don't get to that point again?
Good maintenance culture. I don't think there was a good maintenance culture at Tor. And the issue of it being a government institution, people don't have the conviction to do the right thing there. Like we said earlier, the Tor recovery levy, the Tor debt recovery levy, which is already in the build-up in the petroleum price we pay. We've been paying that for over 7, 8, almost 10 years, I think. How much do you think has been accumulated since then? And how come Tor's debt has still not been paid? That is not being applied. The money being collected is not being applied for the purposes that it's collected for. That's why people will still tell you Tor is in debt. But my point is, if we do good maintenance culture and we try to also expand and replace parts that go wrong and expand the operations of the company, then some of these, they will be more profitable if we expand their operations. And then if we do a good maintenance culture, then things will not break down as often as they've been doing. And the management, nobody should be allowed in one position for more than 5 years. I think people can sit in Tor at certain level, can sit there for 15, 20 years. Why? You know what I mean? People should not be allowed to sit in one position like Tor for that long, because then it breeds a lot of things, because they get comfortable, they don't do the right thing. People within the government sector should be moved around. The engineers and stuff like that, fine. But in core management, executive management, I don't think we should leave people in those positions for 20, 15, 20 years, sitting in one office.
If the prices continue to fall, what could become of our oil?
Well, this is the way it works. And that is why OPEC is refusing to intervene. You have what the capex, what your break-even price is for every well. And in the oil upstream sector, the oil is pumped from what you call a well, okay? So you have various wells in various parts of the ocean or on land. Each well, you have a rig that plugs into the well and pumps out the oil. Now, that operation has staff, engineers, all the people that comes in. There is a capex, which is your break-even price. To pump 1 barrel of oil, every well has its break-even price. So if, let's say, you have well 1, the break-even price, when to pump 1 barrel of oil, the break-even for all the operations involved is, let's say, $80. You would have one well, which the break-even to pump 1 barrel of crude is, let's say, $20. At this stage where crude oil is at $31, the $80 well will be shut, because the company cannot run at a loss to be producing that well. But the well that is $20 can still be producing, because any barrel that comes out, they still make $11 from that. In the Saudi Arabia, their wells are $18. Most of the wells in Saudi Arabia is produced at $18. So in Saudi Arabia, as long as the oil prices is above $18, they can be producing from their wells. In the North Sea, most of the wells, most of the rigs in the North Sea and the wells in the North Sea have been closed down, because their break-even per well, per barrel is higher. And if they continue to produce, the company will lose money. And that is why oil companies are now shutting down all these wells. The idea is that when all these wells are shut down, there will be less production, then demand will still be high. So when demand now outstrips the supply, the price will now start going up again. And if it gets past $80, then the well that can now produce at profit at 80 can now start working again. If not, it will remain permanently closed. In Ghana, I mean, politicians will tell you that, oh no, Tulo said they won't sack anybody, blah, blah, blah. Tulo recently just recorded some huge losses.
Indeed.
It's a business. They have shareholders. No matter what the minister tells you and I, if it gets to the point where Tulo is losing money, they will sack people and they will shut down the well. Jubilee has its capex. I'm not sure what it is, but the partners of Jubilee would not lose money in the name of Ghana. So we should be careful about some of these things. There was a delegation that came to the minister and assured him that, oh no, we're not going to lay people off. All that is just political talk. If the business realize that they are losing money and the oil prices go past the production, the break-even point for the well, why would Tulo still be operating and losing money?
I'm afraid this is all time will allow for our conversation, but I'm very grateful you came through. Thank you very much, Kojo.
Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm okay.
That's
I'm
good.
okay. Now, there you have it. You make your judgments and let's hear from you. We've been discussing the energy sector and what decisions we have taken and how they could affect us. So once you make your judgments, let's hear from you on the Business and Financial Times Facebook page. Don't forget that the show is brought to you by Lily Foods and Giant Mold, and definitely powered by the Business and Financial Times newspaper, which is out mostly on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It's also supported by the BFT online cindyrise.com. I'll be right back, and when I do, I'll come back with a review of trading activities on the Accra Bourse over the weekend and some Forex news. Tuesday.
From October 2015 to March 2016, buy one 5 kg bag of Cindy Rice and you will stand the chance to win in fabulous prizes such as fridges, washing machines, LED TVs, home theaters, sound systems, laptops, and many more. It's all about the Cindy Rice giveaway promotion. So keep enjoying your favorite Cindy Rice and keep winning these great prizes. You can redeem your prizes instantly with the coupon you find in the bag at all Ramani and Royal Board depots nationwide, as well as selected wholesale outlets. Cindy Rice, sweet aroma, great taste.
Glad you're still here with us. This is Business Time. My name is Kimini Amano. Now we can take a review of trading activities on the Accra Bourse over the week. If you missed any of the action, here's what you should have known. Now let's look at how our currency is performing against other major trading currencies in the world. Well, it's time for us to go here on Business Time. It's been absolutely fantastic coming your way with the program. Business Time is brought to you by Lele Foods. Lele Foods gives you the best of cooking experience, whether you're cooking for yourself, for the family, or for some friends. You'd find the rice, the oil, the mackerel and corned beef you need for that very special occasion. Find any of the Lele food products in any shop near you. If you can't figure out one, I'll tell you a couple of places you could find it at Laramat in Osu near Photo Club, or opposite the Tema Community 2 police station. You find Lele food products there as well. The program is also sponsored by Giant Mold and definitely powered by the Business and Financial Times, which is out on your newsstands Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Fridays. It's also supported by the BFTonline.com. My makeup is by Jubin House of Beauty. You find them near the Tesano Police Depot. You can go there for all those special occasions where you need to up your auntie in the crowd. You want to stand out and look unique amongst the people you go out with. You find all your beauty products there as well. My costume is by Jim Berry. Thank you very much for making me look amazing, you too. But that's it from me. My name is Kimini